We have been working on a project this year that I thought would be fun to share with you guys. It's not a homestead project, it is actually a home project. But before I dive into exactly what we're working on this month, let me give you just a little bit of a backstory of how we got to this point so far. We obviously live in a very old house. I can make a whole video about the history of this house, but I'll save that for another day. For the sake of this project, I just wanted to share how much character has been retained and preserved over the last 120 plus years. And this is why I bought this house. This is something that I really cherish and that I'm so grateful for. The only room really in the entire house that didn't have the same character when we moved in was the kitchen. It had been done in the 90s, and though it had a few details like the trim that kind of gave a nod to the original house design, really the only thing that was original was the floors and two of the doors. Since we've moved in, I've done basically nothing to this room except for remove the giant stove that took up a ton of space and didn't serve any function, and I painted an accent wall. But now, 4 years in this house with 7, 8, and now 9 people, we have really done our wear on this kitchen. So it's finally time to start giving it some love and fixing it up a little bit. Though I would love to do my dream renovation right now, that is not in the budget. So we're doing it kind of piece by piece as we can and as it makes the most sense. And our hope is to be very thoughtful with the design and to make the kitchen look like it could have been this way when the house was originally built. You may have already noticed from the pictures that we already have started kind of this process earlier on in the spring. We redid one of the walls with beadboard, and our plan is to carry that same height of beadboard around the entire room. We also just recently took out this peninsula area. Though I appreciate what they were trying to offer with more counter space, having it blocking one side of the room to the other really kind of obstructed the flow of traffic through here. So our plan is to actually use the center table that we have now and raise it up to be the height of an island so it can be utilized comfortably as more workspace and still give us some seating in the kitchen. The next big project this week is going to be taking out this cabinet that has our sink. We have a new one that is ordered and supposed to be in by the end of the month, but it's going to require us to do some rerouting of the plumbing. The sink isn't going to be in the same spot on the new cabinet. And also, while the cabinet is out, I am going to work on refinishing these floors. And this is kind of where my disclaimer needs to come in, because as much as I am one that is a lover of historic preservation, I also am someone who accepts that everything has kind of a lifetime. I know that what I'm going to do to these floors is going to get probably some negative response, but I hope that you guys will just trust that I have thought this through very heavily for truly several years. And although my dream would be to restore these original floors, I need my kitchen to have floors that are able to be cleaned. I have children, they spill milk, they walk through the barnyard and then walk into the kitchen with their shoes. I can't have a floor that is raw and soaking in all of the nasty things that come into a kitchen on a farm. And I hope that you'll also consider the fact that my husband Tommy professionally restored old hardwood floors for several years. And they're beyond just filling in some cracks with wood glue or epoxy or patching in some boards here and there. They're too far worn to be able to salvage to a state of true cleanliness. So we are going to do the next best options, which is to kind of change what their original aesthetic was, but still kind of keep into a style that could have potentially been what this house had originally. and that is to paint them. In my mind, this is a temporary fix for the eventual goal of replacing them with something maybe salvaged someday when it is more in the budget. So I will be painting them, but before I can do any of that, I've got a lot of prep work to do. I need to clear out this room of all the furniture. We need to move the appliances out. We need to get the cabinet out. Then I need to do a ton of prep work on the floors before I can actually get to the painting part. And I'm going to be a little bit fun with the pattern that I choose. Normally, I'm very neutral and simple, but I figure why not try something fun for a temporary fix? I can live with it for a few years. It doesn't cost me a ton of money. If I end up hating it, then I won't be out very much. Tommy is off work on Fridays right now and got right to work getting the appliances out. I got the rest of the furniture out, and then him and the big boys took the sink cabinet out, which I'm so happy to have that and the backsplash gone. They did repair or replace some of the drywall behind the sink just because it was a little worn. And now it's time to tackle these floors. Because they were so worn, they really didn't need that much in terms of prep work. We did sand lightly the areas that still had some finish left, and then did a very, very thorough vacuuming of all of the cracks and mopped it one last time. And once it was dry, I started doing my first coat of paint, which is the base color. We were both having a lot of last minute hesitation, but after spending so much time up close and personal with the floor vacuuming and doing the first coat of paint, I really saw how bad they were. And I don't have any hesitation that this is giving them a new life, an opportunity to continue to be used versus thrown away. And as scary as that first coat of white is, it always looks awful. I know that they're going to be awesome. I decided to use caulk to fill all of the really, really big cracks because after my research, I know a lot of people will use wood filler, but it can crack over time. So I used caulk, it's more flexible, and filled all of the really big gaps. Then I did my second coat of white paint, which was looking much better. And then it was time to start getting ready for my pattern. I decided to be fun and I'm going to do a checkerboard pattern. So I have a wood square cut to the size that I want, and I am just tracing it with a pencil right on the floor. I know a lot of people will use tape to do their checkerboard pattern, but because the floor is so uneven, I knew that the tape just wasn't going to lay very flat and give a good seal for the lines. And I'm okay with it not being perfect. So tracing this out took about an hour to do the entire floor, and it's not perfect, but I think it's good enough for me to be able to use them as a guide to fill in with my accent, which is this black paint. Painting all of these by hand is definitely probably the most tedious part of this entire project, but after being only 1 or 2 rows in, I was already so excited that it kind of fueled my energy to keep going to get the entire room finished. And I'm going to definitely have to do a second coat of the black paint, but overall, for less than $100, this is such an inexpensive way to give these floors a little bit longer of a life until we can replace them. And I actually don't mind the fact that they're probably going to have some wear on them. They're probably going to get kind of worn, but at least the surface now is wipeable and cleanable, which was my ultimate goal. So another kind of step off of our very long list of slowly renovating this kitchen. Another week or so until we have our cabinet in, which we have to make some countertops for. But if you guys liked this kind of video, will you leave me a comment below and see if I should share more of our progress as we continue to work on things around the house? Otherwise, thanks for watching. I hope you will subscribe and hang out for the next video, and I'll talk to you soon.